everybody. Yes. My name is Angela Harvey, and I'm a growthologist. I teach grown folks how to grow up, and I am calling in from Wake Forest, North Carolina. And I got some people with me. Yes. I want us to just take a moment, let the people know who you are, where you're calling from. If you want to give them your age, you can do that. If you want to give them your occupation, you can do that. But just let everybody know where you're calling from. Lynette, let me give it to you. Whoop, whoop. Hey, good morning, boo.
Good morning. Good morning, friend. I'm checking in from Washington, D.C. I'm Lynette Daly Reese, founder of LDR Next Level Consulting, and I'm happy to be here and a part of this great morning. Way to launch my morning today.
Woo. Get your Ménage à Trois on. Get your Ménage à Trois on. All right, then. Okay, we got Sunshine. Sunshine, you want to just let people know who you are, where you're calling from?
Hi there. I am coming from, it's Sunshine Griffin, coming from Northwest Ohio.
Oh, and you got two Cleveland natives on the line. Me and Lynette both from Cleveland.
Come on.
Okay, so I grew up in Youngstown.
Oh, I know exactly where that is, for sure, for certain. All right, and we got, is it Corinne? Corinne Cooper, you want to introduce yourself?
It's Karen.
Karen, all
But
right.
I'm not that Karen because I don't spell it like that. That's
Okay, there you go.
I am Karen Cooper, and I am from Staten Island, New York.
All
And
right,
I'm a
then.
wellness consultant. I help people get healthy.
There you I love it. I love it. I am absolutely excited for you all to be here and to be a part of this panel because I can't grow up by myself. We're going to all grow up together. I have actually spent the last 20 plus years helping grown folks grow up through my being a therapist, being a motivational speaker, being a retreat hostess and things of that nature. And one of the things that I think that most of those folks had in common is that they had never experienced a ménage à trois, a threesome. But wait a minute, let me be clear. Let me be clear about what I mean when I say a threesome. Especially we just came behind talking about the Lord. I don't want people to think, now, wait a minute, this wasn't a good backup here. Let me be clear when I talk about a threesome. Now, typically, they define a threesome as a sexual encounter between three people. But in our instance, we're talking about the commitment and a relationship that involves all aspects of yourself. So you've heard it be said, me, myself, and I. That's a threesome, right? And then you got your mind, your body, and your soul. That's a threesome, right? In French, it meant a household of three. And as far as I'm concerned, our body is our house, and we actually house all three of those things. See how I worked that? Finagle that in. Y'all like that? I did that? Yes. Then we talk about a wealthy relationship. So we didn't just say a healthy relationship. You can have a healthy bank account, and then you can have a wealthy bank account. Wealthy means affluent and have an abundance. So what I'm hypothesizing this morning, not preaching, but hypothesizing, is that in order for us to have an abundance and to be affluent in our relationships with ourselves and with other people, we have to commit ourselves to having a relationship, a commitment with our whole selves, our mind, body, and spirit, with me, myself, and I. In other words, I am saying that it's necessary for us to have that ménage à trois before we can have that affluent and abundance in our relationships. Everybody got me with that?
I'm with it.
I heard Beyonce talk about me, myself, and I. That's all I got in the end. I'm going to be my own best friend. And many of us don't grow to that place. We don't know to grow to that place. In fact, I think we were groomed in some ways to think that we needed to be a part of somebody else or of something else in order for us to be whole. I would hate when I would hear people say, my better half. Boo, guess what? I am my better half. I don't know that it gets better than this right here. But when you give that kind of power to somebody else or to something else, it actually is a distraction. So me, myself, and I, the norm is for us to put others first, especially as women. We were just taught this, I remember if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. That muted us in a way. You had to share things even when you didn't want to share. I'm a big girl. I didn't want to share my food and my candy, but that was something that people, made you do. So it made you not consider yourself. I'm a recovering codependent. So for 50 plus years of my life, making other people happy made me happy. At least that's what I thought, right? Or that submissive person who you'll be happy when they're happy, with the hopes that when they're happy, they'll make you happy. Or you go to passive end of that is this, if you're happy, that you'll make me happy back. And guess what? I think we could probably all agree that it doesn't work like that. We wished it worked like that. But imagine if you could, if you had allowed yourself to be connected enough with yourself to be able to fulfill some of those things by yourself, you and your higher power. Because please know that I don't live my life without God, for sure and for certain. And these last 2.5 years, 3 years, it's been just me and him kicking it tough. I don't even know if he answered any of y'all prayers, because he's been full time on me. I'm telling you. And so know then that me, myself, and I is all that you have in the end, because I think all of us have gone to a place or grown from a place where people have disappointed us. And imagine then being whole enough to take on that disappointment and not be crushed. I'm not sure about any of you ladies, but guess what? Heartbreak did this sister in. It didn't matter what degree I had. It didn't matter how many kids I had given birth to. It didn't matter how many friends I had. When someone rejected me or didn't want to be with me or broke my heart, or did something that I thought was mean or ill-spirited, that was crushing to me. And I imagine right now, sitting before you now, how I could have saved myself from some of the dread, because you do know that we bring our own selves down. I mean, we can have heartbreak, but then you go all the way in it. I would play the saddest songs. Oh my goodness, like, oh yeah, somebody broke my heart. Oh. Ryan McKnight, One Last Cry. I never had my last cry. It just kept me in one last cry, one last cry. And then we can switch over to the other Ménage à Trois that we're talking about. And that's the mind, body, and soul. Some people say the mind, body, and spirit. Everybody kind of knows what your mind is, what your mind does for you. Everybody can be clear about what our body is. People kind of get it confused when we talk about the soul. And for our reference, our soul is going to be our authentic self. And so here's what I know right off the bat. Guess what I know? Most of us are not connected in that way. We could have our mind, and sometimes we can have our mind and our body. Have your body ever told you something that your mind was like, no, don't do that? But your body was like, come on, ain't nobody gonna catch us. We can do this, we can do this. Or your mind tell you something like, hey, I know what you're feeling, but don't grow there, right? But we did it anyway. The other connection is with our soul. And for me, that's gonna be our authentic self. And many of us don't know that person, because our authenticity was usually stripped from us around age 2 or 3. You know, when your parents had you act and behave the way they wanted to, so that you didn't embarrass them, so that you didn't make them look bad. It was what was in our Bible. It was those types of things. And so us being authentic is not something many of us brought into our adulthood, because we didn't even know what that was. I tell people all the time, if you're not acting like a 2-year-old, you are not keeping it real. You are not being authentic. So imagine then, Lynette, I know you know a lot about that, because you got one authentic little girl. I got a little grandniece that is absolutely has learned from her parents, and they've allowed her to keep her authenticity. She can say and speak her mind without there being incident. She could say that she doesn't want string beans. Well, she probably wouldn't, but anyway, because she loves all kind of great things. It would be Auntie Angie that would go, string beans, what is that? But having those 3 things connected, your mind, your body, and your authentic self, is not something that we have known how to be in alignment with. We were either listening to 1 or maybe 2, definitely not 3. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine last night who said, Angie, well, you might not want to say that most of us have never done it, because I think all of us, yes, we do all have the ability, but being able to have that ménage à trois, the commitment to all parts of yourself, many of us have not grown to that place. Why? Because it's difficult work. First of all, you have to acknowledge that you're not your authentic self. And we don't go around talking about that, right? We are always keeping it real. We always keeping it 100. Yeah, but authenticity is you speaking your truth. I just lost some people with that one. Authenticity is you having boundaries. I just lost a few more people with that. Authenticity is you being able to say no when you mean no. I just lost most of my folks with that one. Authenticity is you putting yourself first. Well, there go the rest of the crowd. Right. I officially lost everybody, y'all. Yay. Keep that up. Keep that up. And then having not just being in alignment with, but there being a balance, and you being able to trust yourself. Ooh. Did it hurt? Trusting yourself. How many people get on the phone with other people to ask questions about what you should do? Yeah, that alignment is something that most of us lack. And I didn't say lack. I didn't say we didn't have it. I said lack. See, I'm trying to be nicer and gentler because it's early in the morning, right? And then the other thing is learning how to relax. I was listening to the conversation earlier, and it's something I love that she brought up the fact about listening to music. When you listen to music, everything else goes away, mainly because it's hard to think and, sing out loud if we get to singing and jumping around. But the other thing we don't do really well is to relax. And we can't relax usually because our mind is not attached to our body, is not attached to our soul. One of those things is real busy doing something else that our other two things have decided, no, we don't want to do that. Or me, myself, and I, we are really usually tuned into me because we go, they hurt me. They did this to me. This happened to me. And that I and myself are things that we have to be responsible for. Yeah. I start doing this with myself. Every time I said somebody did something to me, I think about what did you do to yourself, right? I believe, and I'm going to ask my panel, because I'm not doing this by myself, what their thoughts are. But I believe that in order for any of these things to change, we have to do what I call bringing your A game, right? And your A game is going to be you being aware, you having acceptance, you having some acknowledgement, you taking action. And then like any change and any growth, it's continual. So I call that aftercare. That's bringing your A game. Awareness, acknowledge, accept, action, and aftercare in order for you to change anything. And so right now in this moment, I want everyone that's listening to the sound of my voice, if you could just grab a hold of something that's able to relate to this menage a trois, this commitment that you're having with yourself, and think about that one piece that you might need to enhance or you need to improve on or you need to do something different with. And I'm going to then kick it out to my guests because guess what? Collectively, we know a whole lot more than just me. So it's not just about me. I got people on the line. Lynette, what comes up for you? Talk to the people.
One thing that I think is interesting when you think about, having commitment to the three is like, how do you find your way back to when something's out of alignment? Like, what are the tactics that you have? Like you just gave the example, like your mind can be really busy and your spirit and your body is in a different place. It's like, how do you find ways to calibrate that? Mm-hmm. And acknowledging that sometimes they're going to be out of alignment. And the question is like, what are the things you have to do and say, okay, it's gone. My brain is working overtime. Like for me, it's like when I wash dishes. Dishes is the place where I do my best thinking. Now I'm physically tired because I'm standing up. I'm in the kitchen, moving around. But my mind is doing the work that I needed to do. And so you get back to this point of like, where do you find ways to calibrate that? So I'd be interested to say, like, when you think about the A game and what are the tactics that you see that are most helpful for folks to figure out how to calibrate the alignment. I won't say you can't always be in constant alignment. The question is like, how do you calibrate when those parts of your menage a trois need to be best motivated and more intentional about you? Sometimes you might need your spirit to be running on a high level because you're in a space where you got to give grace to somebody. That's spirit work. Your mind say you want them to leave you alone or you want them to go away, but your spirit say, let me give a little grace.
Absolutely. That is absolutely and so on point. And I love what you said about sometimes we're not in alignment. Sometimes we're not even connected enough to those things. So being in alignment is just being in alignment with one or two of those things. And if I had to answer the question, how do you get in alignment or how do you call those things together? Again, the first thing is about being aware and then being acknowledged what pieces of you where do you need to pull those pieces from? Like, okay, then I got my mind and my body right, but I'm not trying to get with this, again, my authentic self. And the easiest way I know how to tell people to keep it real is to really and truly act like you two. When you two, you say what you want, like there is no filter. Like, mommy, she ugly. And you're like, no, baby, you can't say that. We instantly want to yank that from her. I think it's important that we recognize. I firmly believe that when you get those three things together, the alignment comes in place. So unlike a car where you can feel the alignment, we can feel when we're tipped a little bit, right? If you know then that you are in it, that something needs to be calibrated. I, for myself, do self-talk. And all of us can say that we read self-help books, but I'm going to tell people this. You can read all day long, but if you don't know how to apply the paint, the paint being the knowledge. If you don't apply the paint, the color of your world never changes. That alignment is not ever going to happen. You're always going to be tilted. Hey, right. And that's not what we want to do. So most of us have the information. We've read the books. Everybody got a bookcase. They got all the 5 love languages and the 4 agreements. We got the Holy Bible. We got all those things. And none of us are applying the paint. And I think it doesn't have to be an application. Most of us don't paint a room in a day. Well, Lynette probably does. We can't listen to Lynette on this one.
Well, that's only if I have the time I could pull it off. It takes a little strategy.
See, but for most of us, we go and we do a little, and that's what it's going to look like. It's going to look like you're doing a little. And the biggest thing is showing yourself grace when you can't do it all. Don't beat yourself up like, okay, today I can't get it together today. I have clients that, okay, I tell people, if you have hope at the end of 60 minutes, you have something. It doesn't have to be that you have to go and you be able to fly when you crawled in here. But if you have hope that you can one day fly, we're growing somewhere with that one. And so it's important that I think that when you talk about that alignment, that one, you know that they can be aligned. And I'm here to tell you, and maybe there's some people on my panel can tell you too, that alignment can happen. And they can also share that the misalignment, is that the right word? Misalignment?
Yeah.
Okay. That misalignment could potentially happen. But when you know what this looks like, you can figure out a way to get back there. For me, it's self-talk. To me, it could be me listening, going to my therapist. It could be me. But the biggest thing is you knowing that it exists. Because many of us, until right now, didn't know the Ménage, Trois, the me, myself, and I. Like, what do you mean? I'm just one person. Or what do you mean my mind, body, and spirit, or my mind, body, and soul? So when you didn't know that you would need to have all those things together, guess what? It wasn't happening. We didn't know that we needed to be in alignment. Sunshine, what you got for the people? What's your thoughts?
I have 2 things. So when I felt like I was out of control or I was living out of my heart and not my mind, and I would honestly do a prayer of alignment, and I would speak and say, body, get in line with my soul. Soul, get in line with my spirit. And of course, for me, I go a level higher. My spirit get in line with the Holy Spirit.
Come on now.
Right? Because,
that's right.
And I just have to take myself under subjection there because I'm out of control. I'm like, am I, because sometimes most people take their heart and mind and disconnect them. And then they get all logical and they're like, oh, I'm not involving my heart so I can make the right decision. Wait a minute. Our heart, God looks upon the heart of people. Our heart, it's our heart. We still do crappy things, but he knows we have good intentions and goodwill.
Right.
So it's like, which one is better to live out of? And most people keep them disconnected. I'm like, you got to plug those 2 back in and take your time. People are so fast. Slow down and be intentional about what you're saying and what you're doing. Intentional living was the biggest thing that removes any regret.
Oh, I love that. Did y'all get that, people? I told y'all I got a panel for you. She said, wait a minute, I wrote down, get in line.
Get in line.
Get in line, spirit. You better get in line.
Yes. And you said, yes. I'm like, body, you listen to that soul, and soul, get in line with that spirit. But you said something about, what did you do to yourself? When somebody does something to you and you're like, oh, they did that to me, or they made me so mad, they can't make you anything. You make yourself mad. What? Come on.
Look, everybody got the snaps going off.
You see what I mean? And that, it's like no one can make you do anything. You reacted. You can respond intentionally or you can react out of control. So you make that decision. And I was like, oh, they made me mad. Or when someone says that, you made me so mad. I'm like, I didn't. What I did may have sparked something in you. So guess what? Look at that thing in you. That's between you, right?
Oh, look
Go in there.
So you better look at yourself.
Yes. I was like, well, shoot, you just made me do that. You made me so sad today when you didn't do this. And they're like, and I was like, oh, wait, why was I sad? Go into that. Was I feeling lonely? Like, what is it about me? You didn't do a thing. And we put so much blame on other people.
Right.
And that's where you're like, okay, get in line. Line it up.
Go.
So I love
it.
Look,
you bring it up. Get in line. Get in line.
Yeah. And I speak to and I just take authority over my body. Body, get in line with my soul. Your soul has to be well. And soul, get in line with my spirit. And we're good-willed people.
Right.
You know, we're good-willed,
Absolutely.
and we got to forgive ourselves for feeling and thinking those things. I'm like, get in line.
Get in line. I love it. I love it.
Angie,
Karen, what you got for us?
Can I build off of Summer's statement around that sense
Absolutely.
of intentional living? What came up for me as she said that was the sense of like there are these minute pauses that you take in decision making, which I think is on the front end of how that alignment happens. It's like someone asked me, "Can you do X, Y, and Z? Can you, run me down to North Carolina?" Like if someone said, "Let's jump in the car, go to North Carolina," I'm gonna go. My heart will be like, "Yes, I can go hang out with my friends." My mind is gonna go, "No, you got 6 places you need to be. Olivia needs this," and then my spirit is gonna be like, "Oh, I want to go do this." My body be like, "Well, I'm tired. Do I want to sit in the car for 6 hours?" So there's some really rapid decision making, I think, that impacts the alignment. So I guess there's a part of this like, what's the filters that you need, like in a daily moment's notice when you're saying those things, to your point, somewhere around the sense of like these intentional moments of living, I think is really rooted in this system. Like, how are you making decisions for yourself each day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. Karen, what comes up for you?
I'll say what come up for me, and Katrina also has a question.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But when you were talking about me, myself, and I, and talking about yourself, or talking to yourself, and actually that's what I spoke about when I started the conference this morning, is about how do you talk to yourself? How are you? First of all, the me, myself, and I, the whole Ménage Trois thing, brilliant, genius. I'm insanely in love with it. Just want to say that. Like I didn't even think about it, and to bring your A game, like wow, that was just genius. But the whole how do you talk to yourself piece was really, really resonant for me. And because I didn't for so long. And I think and I even said this when I spoke this morning, so often we're so kind and nice and much better to other people than we are to ourselves. And the relationship to ourselves is the most important relationship. I'm learning the most important relationship, because when you love yourself and when you take care of yourself and when you're all about you, because what's taught also, it's about you, and it's about ego, and it's about, you know what I'm saying? It's like braggadocious and all the other crap that goes along with it. When the reality is, no, we are freaking amazing human beings. We're phenomenal human beings. And because we are, we can then project that into the world, and it pours out to everyone else. So
Yes.
I absolutely love how you touched on the me, myself, and I piece. I think that is just genius. And I just want to lead into Katrina's question about what about the challenges that, because I think that's a great question. What about challenges that need more logical thinking?
I'm gonna kick that one to Lynette, because Lynette in our little group is our logical thinker. When we want to go logical, I know for myself, when I want to go logical, I call Lynette. Lynette, what you got for Katrina?
What about challenges that do need more logical thinking? I think when you're in the space of challenge, you just have to be still. If you're having challenge, before you can make a choice, you have to sit still and kind of process it from the point of a Ménage. Like, what does my mind say? Like, even like write down the thing, put it in writing to yourself, and then you can make a decision when you have those moments of challenge where you're trying to think logically, but your emotions are running in a different way. Your mind is trying to process all the things. You're like, just be still. I find that to be super helpful for me. Again, that's usually when I'm washing dishes. It's like I can be still enough to think through, okay, what are the choices I need to make, and what are all the variables involved in that? And then I can make a decision that's calibrated in a way. Now, it might take you a little longer, but at least you are building up some capacity. And as you do it, you can get faster at it. You won't have to sit down and write it out. The first time you're like, okay, I got to make a choice. What is my mind? What does my heart say? What's my body saying? What's my mind saying? Okay, now I can make the choice, and give yourself the space to take the time for you, because this is about you.
Right. What instantly came up for me when you said that, and see, that's why I call Lynette. Everybody I'll put her number in the chat so everybody can call it. She's going to charge you though, by the way. But I want to be clear that what came up for me when you said that was, I remember exiting a relationship and feeling a pain that I never felt before, and definitely wasn't thinking logical. I'm not sure where me, myself, or I was at. My mind and body and spirit and soul was gone. So everybody was on vacation, and Angie was left by herself, toe up from the floor up. And I remember writing down, what is it that you miss? And when I came up with the list, it wasn't a whole lot that I was missing. It's when I discovered I was codependent. I was missing a body. I was missing somebody, not that body, not that person. I was missing a body. But that took me having to really and truly, well, Angie, you're in pain because you miss what? And I remember a friend said to me, oh my goodness, another one of my friends, Red Summer, said to me, you don't miss what you had, you miss what you thought you had. And OMG, was she grow and say that for? And it made so much sense. So that alignment came, that I was able to connect and have that menage a trois when I discovered, Angie, what you're feeling, first of all, was a lot of codependency. But the other piece was you were connecting to something every day, waking up with the potential that it might happen, going to sleep with, I'm going to make it happen tomorrow. And so a vicious cycle. So it took me, just like Lynette said, writing it down to go, okay, what is it that you think this pain that you think are missing? New Edition sang a song and it says, if it isn't love, why does it hurt so bad, make me feel so sad inside? And every time I hear that song, I say, because you codependent. It doesn't hurt because you missed that person or because that person did amazing things for you. Imagine you wanting something, and that's what happens in our relationships. You want something and you think that it's what makes you feel so bad and so sad when it doesn't happen for you. But what's really going on, what's really happening is that you really and truly are not in connection with yourself. You'll never have a wealthy, healthy relationship when you can't grow to yourself. Wait a minute. She said, get in line. Isn't that what you said, Sunshine?
Mm-hmm.
Get in line,
Yeah.
Spirit.
Yeah.
Get in line. So, hey, we need to be on one accord. This needs to be a united front. I can't have you sitting on the couch and the other person on the bookshelf. I got that. We got to all be in alignment. Well, who knew to say those things? Who knew to be able to? I didn't know, which is one of the reasons why I'm a therapist. Like, there's so much that we don't know, that we weren't given, or that we have to interpret, or people not sharing their stories or sharing their experiences. And this thing right here just happening with all four of us, who, by the way, people, this is not rehearsed. We just flow in this way because that's just what growing folks do. We just flow and grow in that way. And so I absolutely love that when you said write it down, because I am one of those kind of people that really, you go in there in my mirror, my screensaver on my phone, sticky note on my computer. If I need to be reminded, I got a little note right here that says, you are not being overlooked, abandoned, left, or forgotten. You are being set apart, protected, preserved, prepared, and positioned. And God said, will you trust me? Right here. I keep that right here. And so, yeah, it's about knowing where you're trying to grow, knowing when you're not in that place, and knowing where to grow. Tell yourself to get in line. I love it. I'm going to definitely do that one, Sunshine. Get in line.
That's so good. You know, Katrina mentioned she knows about her mind and body, but how does she check her spirit? And of course, you know, the best way that I can explain, you know, someone asked me, how do you hear the voice of God? Like your spirit, right? But it's a gut check. It's your convictions, your spirit. When you're like, oh, when you pause for a minute and you think, should I do this or not? That is your spirit. What do you feel deep inside that, should I do this thing or should I not? When you do that, you have a conviction of right and wrong. We have our own convictions about everything.
Right.
But when it's, you know, you're making a conscious choice, that's the check in your spirit. You just sit on that. Yes, you have your intelligence with your mind, your physical body, but your spirit is really your gut instinct. And, you know, using that, separating emotion and logic for me is emotional intelligence, you know, taking and separating your emotions from what, you know, considering them, but you can diffuse anything. You can talk through things if you keep a level head and what you know about those emotions, and use that to make that logical decision. You know, not taking your heart out of it completely, but you're being, you know, it's the emotional intelligence. And that's something I've been trying to use and not get all. It's the difference with responding and reacting.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that spirit check though. Yeah. So that's your gut.
And I always say that our gut is 99.9% right, and our gut is of God. And think about it. When you were 2 years old, 2-year-olds don't think a whole lot because it came automatic. But they got beat down and beat down and beat down with it. Where now our pauses end up looking like weeks at a time. You know, you know, like, okay, I'm on a pause. Like, is she frozen? No, she's just pausing. She's waiting. Well, literally, what you just said, Sunshine, makes so much sense. You really and truly going, okay, then that little twinge that you feel, that little something that you feel, yeah, that's your gut, and your gut is of God, and it's 99.9% right. Go with that. But we become so disconnected with that soul spirit, that absolutely it takes us longer to realize what it is. And then we don't know if we want to trust it. And then we don't know if it's ours or somebody else's.
Yes, you get your mind out of the way. I'm like, you gotta almost get out of your own way, right? I have to turn my mind off because
Right.
I overthink.
Right.
I'm an
As my grandmother
overthinker.
used to say, devil, get behind me.
Come on. Come
Go
on,
with the gut.
grandmothers.
Don't think too long. When you think
Right.
too long, you can talk yourself out of in and out of everything. Your gut instinct, there it is,
They
right?
say you think long, you think wrong.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's
you think
good.
long, you think wrong. Right, right. And again, as 2-year-olds, as our authentic selves, when God had complete control, or when the universe had complete control, whoever you thought had complete control, you fired it off like that. You knew, I don't like string beans. I don't want to go to the store. I mean, you were able to say it and do it. And now those pauses got me. Yeah, somebody told you, think before you say that. You need to, and that's when we started pausing. Like, okay, let me think before I say I don't want to share my gum. Like, I know I don't want to share my gum, but mommy said I should think about it. You think about, and that thinking gets to be longer and longer and longer. So we really and truly, anything you're away from or that disconnected from, you don't trust. You don't trust it, right?
Yeah, it's good. That's good.
The other thing, it brought up something to me when you said, I'm the friend you call for the logical conversations when we need to break something down. Like whenever we talk, it's usually supposed to be like 10 minutes. It ends up being 45 because you've done a thing. And to Katrina's question of like understanding how to calibrate, who do you call? Like when I want to have a conversation about a mind conversation, I call Angie Harvey because we can do a little mind, body, and spirit. We're going to do a little bit of both of them. Right. And then I have friends who I can really tap into my spiritual space with. Mm-hmm. Like who's your group around you that helps you to calibrate and helps give you, some different insights and thinking when you feel yourself out of alignment. I think that's absolutely a way to bring that calibration and bring that alignment closer together when you're like, I need to talk to, like before my grandmother passed, she was my spiritual alignment. I call my grandmother and I tell her whatever was going on. She said, baby, now remember back when you were struggling with whatever the thing was from your past, this ain't nothing. God got, like she would always bring me to this spiritual space of like, it's going to be okay. And then she'd pray for me and tap me on the head, send me on the way. Right. And so you have to be clear about who's the people around you that can really help you calibrate that menage a trois.
Mm-hmm. Lynette, I just have to say this. I think you bring up the most incredible point with that, because I think so many times we think we need to be doing this alone or figuring out alone and all those things. And 100% do you need that support from other people. And you have different, and you know what, the thing is too, in different seasons of your life, you may have different people for different things, and that's totally fine. But you absolutely 1000% need, in my opinion, you absolutely need the support system. And you need someone to go, like, who are you going to call? I'm sorry, my brain is, who are you going to call Ghostbusters? I'm sorry. I'm 12 and I need to get that out. But anyway, you're absolutely right, because it's so like you need to be introspective sometimes and figure things out on your own 100%. But at the same time, to your point, Angie, and to your point, Lynette, it's really about, okay, I'm feeling out of alignment. I'm feeling a certain way. You journal, you do all the things, and maybe you're still feeling that way. So it's like, who am I going to call to be like, okay, this is what happened. This is what I wrote down. This is what I'm feeling, and sometimes you don't even need the person to help you figure it out. Sometimes you just need to get it off your chest and say it out loud to someone else. Sometimes I call it venting. Sometimes you just need to vent to someone, get your stuff all out there, and then just be heard, just be seen and heard. So like, sometimes it's not even a matter of calling for advice. It's, what, I just need to say this. I just need to get this out of my chest, whatever, or, you ask the person, like a lot of times I ask this with my kids now, I've learned this, like, what are you looking for? Because they're 21 and 17. So everything is, phenomenal. I say jokingly, what are you looking for? Because sometimes we're not looking for anything. We're just looking for getting it off our chest.
Right. Absolutely. And I love that. I mean, this has been, at first I thought, oh my goodness, 40 minutes. What are we going to say in 40 minutes? This is float. I looked up, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's almost time to grow. But first of all, I want to thank everybody. This is still, because I want to give everybody just like a quick 30 seconds or a minute before I do my outro, and just give us, it could be what you thinking and feeling right now in this moment, where you've grown yourself, or give something to the people. Let them know where they can grow. Sunshine, you want to kick us off?
Of course, I'm thinking, I'm like, after all that, the best thing that I've been, is be intentional. That is, intentional living has been something I've been doing the last few years. So, everything you say and do, you do take that tiny pause real quick, but, be intentional and mean what you say. Don't waste your words. Make sure that they're true. Your yeses are yeses and nos are nos. And
Ooh,
don't be afraid, to say no. There's all good things you can do with your time, but God has the best for you.
All
So,
right.
yep.
As a mic drop,
Yep.
bam. Be intentional.
Yes.
Karen, what you got for us?
Honestly, that I'm grateful for even being included in the conversation. So thank you for including me in the
Oh
conversation.
my goodness. You
and
brought wait a minute, let me quickly say, Sunshine, you have a voice on you that just makes everything just calm down. Everything is going to be okay.
Oh.
I can over here like, oh my goodness, like where has she been all of my life with that voice? Because you see, I'm like, what? And she's like, okay, now we're gonna need to be intentional. I love that. Go ahead, Karen. I'm sorry to disrupt.
No. I second that emotion. I absolutely agree with you. And what I would honestly give to people is this: always listen to your gut. Always two things. Number one, your gut always 100% always knows. Like when your gut is telling you something, but when your mind is trying to keep you safe. So anytime you do something different than what you normally do, your mind's like, whoa, listen to what's going on inside that belly, listen to your gut. And you talked earlier, Angie, about trusting yourself. A lot of times we get disconnected from ourselves and we don't trust yourself for whatever reason. I'm a recovering codependent also.
Yes.
Trusting yourself is you don't need the external validation per se. You know. And you know. So listen to that.
You said and you know. I love that. Thank you very much. Lynette, what you got for the people?
All I'm gonna tell the people is give yourself space and time to find your alignment. You got to make space, your own, dedicate time to yourself so that you can make the investment. And understanding how you get there and when it's out of alignment and the things you need to do, that requires you to spend time with yourself. So you got to be okay with being with you.
All right. I love that. Okay with being you. And so let me do this little quick wrap up right here, because remember what you got from the people. Sunshine said you have to be intentional. Karen said you have to listen to your gut, because your gut, she said 100%. I was giving y'all one little percent with 99.9%, but you heard it from the expert. She said 100% is right. Lynette said time. You have to give yourself some time. Your growthologist is going to tell you, get it together. Get it together. That awareness, that bringing your A game is going to be pivotal. You cannot change anything without being aware. And I'm hopeful that you all know, or are a little bit more convinced, that a menage a trois is exactly what should be happening about now. So go ahead and get your threesome on.